And good morning, friends. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Monday morning, ready for an awesome week. Even if we did have a 3 or 4 day competition this past weekend. Welcome to Coffee Talk. Coffee Talk is brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, and you can learn more about them at ideadance.org. Currently, there are several free downloads on that page, so be sure to check it out, ideadance.org. So today we have 3 guests. I'm smiling because we've already started talking, and I know this is going to be a good time. Melissa Hoffman is with us, Nancy King and Scott Sisbarro. And we're going to talk about competition. I say then and now. Then is because we have, as a group, known each other through dance competition for bleep years, but that's a lot of years, and shared a lot of experiences, and I can't wait to talk about it. Before we bring on our guests, I'm going to run a commercial for the Dance Life Teacher Conference, which will be happening July 25 to 27 at the Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and we would love to have you there. Here we are. Good morning. Welcome. Before we introduce all of you, those of you who are with us today, please share your comments. Let us know where you're from, your name, where's your studio. I already see Erin Ray, Pam Simpson. How cool is that? So, welcome, you guys. We all go back a lot of years in this competition world, and I'm really excited to have this talk. I am going to say that both Melissa and Scott are appearing today while they have competition coma. So I think this is really a good time to talk. We have Tammy here. We have Sandy Duncan.
Oh, hey,
Hi, Miss Sandy.
She's got coma too.
She's in the coma too. Glad you all are here with us this morning. So before we go, Scott, tell everybody a little bit about, Erin's in a competition coma too. Scott Sisbarro, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Scott. I have a studio in Old Greenwich, Connecticut. I've had the studio now for 30 years and been doing competitions forever. That big number is probably 30-something years as a worker. And then there's years before that competing too. So been around forever.
How about you, Miss Nancy? Tell us a little bit about the legendary person you are, my friend.
I'm Nancy King. I'm from the King Center for the Performing Arts. We have 3 studios in Mahwah, New Jersey, Wanacue, New Jersey, and Butler, New Jersey. This is my 52nd year in business, and I have been in competition too many years, a lot of years, probably 40 years, I guess. And I'm so happy to be here. I love my friends here.
Yes.
I'm happy to have you with us and to be here with you. Melissa, tell us a little bit
A
about
little,
you. So,
yeah. Melissa Hoffman. I have a studio in New Hampshire in our 33rd year. I will say this: we started competing like right out of the bat, right when I opened it 33 years ago, and we're so excited to get high bronzes, you guys. And our goal was to get better and better every year. And it was people like Nancy. Nancy probably doesn't know this, but she was always a mentor to me from afar because we both have 4 children. And raising 4 kids at the same time and having competitive dancers and running programs like that, I always admired you, Nancy, in that. And you always had such beautiful dancers with beautiful ballet training. So yeah, I got to share that with you. You probably never knew that. Yeah.
No,
I'm glad to be here. No, you didn't. No, but I would judge your kids, and I'd be so excited to judge your kids. And yeah, I've been judging for many years as I was pretty much open. I started working with Rhee 32 years ago, I think we figured out. So yeah, so we've been around a long time doing competition work.
yes, we have, Melissa. Let's start with what you just said.
Okay.
Tell me, I guess I was in the heat of doing competitions, right? It was 1991.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Because I know this, not because I remember it, but because we had a pre-talk. And that was your first judging experience?
Yes. Yeah. And
Tell everybody about that event.
story. You want the story?
Yeah, quick.
All right. So he re-invited me to judge in Buffalo, New York. And back then, oh gosh, we had big Canadian schools and just amazing talent was seen all over the place. So the interesting part about it was at the time I was on a panel with 3 other judges that were professional dancers and amazing dancers. And I was the dance teacher from New Hampshire, little old New Hampshire. And I remember someone who worked with Rhee said, "You sure Melissa's up for this?" And I remember being so paranoid after that. But what I realized really quickly, and one of the nice things that I've seen change in competitive dance is not to take away from professional dancers because they're amazing. But we as dance teachers have something different to add because we teach those 5-year-olds and we teach those 7-year-olds. And I remember listening to the judge next to me, a 7-year-old was up there who shouldn't even been attempting a double pirouette, never mind. And he was saying, "You've got to get that cleaner, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Oh, you've never taught a 7-year-old, clearly." So we've seen that change. I think that's one of the nicest thing that's changed. And that's not to say that there aren't some professional dancers who have worked with younger kids and can do that. But I think that if we're looking for educational feedback for our kids, I feel like it's important that, you seek that out, that we have educators that are talking to our kids. And that's changed. That's been a really positive change, I think. Or the professionals are making their business to understand. When I say professionals, I mean performers, making it their business to understand how we train dancers in the trenches.
I agree with that 100%. If you were to say, who do you think makes the best judge? Yes, professional people who grew up in a studio, who have some teaching experience and also bring that professional background. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, very much
But
so.
the good old teacher who understands what you just said is getting a group of 7-year-olds on the same foot to the same beat of the music to realize that's a miracle in itself. Okay.
Yeah.
That to me is really important in this day and age. Okay, I'm moving around because I want to. Scotty,
Buddy.
what was your first award?
Oh, my first award. Personally, it was
yeah, at a dance competition.
At a dance competition. Oh, it was probably Nothing, actually, because back in the day, it was 1, 2, and 3, and maybe an honorable mention. And yeah, no, I probably didn't get anything, but I do have quite a few honorable mentions from in my little chest of drawers upstairs, and I laugh at those and little trophies. Yep. Oh, I have a Mr. Photogenic photo. was one of the options at one of the competitions at one time.
So you won Mr.
I
Photogenic?
did. I think I was probably the only entry in that year.
So proud of you. I had
You
no
know what?
idea.
I took all of my dance skill and put it right into that camera.
I would like to add that to your resume here at the Rhee Gold Company.
You know what? It needs to be. I'll look for the picture too.
But Scotty, I asked you that question because you told me the other day that you had gotten honorable mentions. So now I want to take you back whatever years and say, did you feel like you were a success when you got that honorable mention at that time?
Oh God, yes, because there was so many in the category, and just to get something like that, I was thrilled. Like, we were thrilled just to get that. And I say we because, of course, it wasn't just me as a soloist. It was a lot of group things, and yeah, just to get that, it was great. Totally, yeah. We needed that.
Yeah.
What do you think is different now that you could either go home with an honorable mention or that you could go home with nothing?
Well, I see it on stage a lot, Rhee, now too, because I host competitions, and I see when we hand out the awards, and we see to this. I try and turn and look at the kids when we're handing out the awards as I announce them, the disappointment that they get a high silver, and says, you know what, you need to work harder. It's just that was your one performance that you did, or your gold, or your ultimate gold, and it's your point system that's at each competition too. I mean, they can lower the points so that you can get a super high platinum, silver, gold, diamond studded award. But if it's from 285 to 300, yeah, you're going to get that. But if you want your kids to learn, they have to work harder. That's what needs to happen. So yeah, I was thrilled when I would get honorable mention, and there was many times we didn't get anything. Many times, and it was only it was first, second, third in the category, right? Is that what you remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, first, second, third, and if the judges felt like someone was close enough to that third, that's when an honorable mention would happen to encourage.
Yeah, or if there was a ton in the category, like 20, then you would get a certain amount of honorable mentions. Yeah.
So, Miss Nancy.
Yes.
One of my memories that I have with you is running. I think we did it as co-chair people, running the DMA Dance Masters of America national competition.
Yes. The Mr. Miss Dance. I was ahead of Mr. Miss Dance.
Yes. Yeah. Remember the days when it was Mr. and Miss Dance, and all the teachers and all the kids would be in a ballroom hanging out with each other.
Yes, became very good friends.
And kids would dance on the stage, and all the teachers would help those kids.
Yes, everyone would help backstage, getting them ready. Anyone that needed anything extra, someone would borrow something from someone else. It was everyone got along so well. The kids had so much fun. They made lasting friendships that went on forever. Forever.
And so did the teachers.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I actually remember your daughter, Natalie, in Miss Dance, my mother being there. Natalie had pulled a muscle. She was going home to soak in hot tubs, I think, or going upstairs to soak in hot tubs, and everybody was helping her to make it through that Miss Dance competition. What year am I talking right now?
Oh, 1994? I think 94. 93 or 94. Yes,
yeah.
we graduated in 94.
What would you say, Nancy, is the most dramatic change from your early days 40 years ago of competing? And I know you're going next week to a competition. Between then and now, what do you see as the biggest change?
I think, well, everyone wins, which sometimes I don't always agree with, because I think we need that person to know that they have to work towards something a little more. I think that there's so many categories now. I think there's so many types of dance, and there's so many mixtures of dance. And sometimes people get confused what is what. I find that. I think the adjudication is sometimes too high. I would like to see it spread out a little more, because then they would really get a time where they have to work towards the next part. So I liked the 1, 2, 3 an honorable mention. I did. I felt that the kids really set goals better than they do now, because now it's like set up for disappointment. And I'd like to see, I agree with you, Scott. You want to, just means you have to work harder. And that's what I always tell even my own students. You just have to work harder. That doesn't mean you are good.
Right.
There are a lot of good people.
Yeah.
It's an opinion of a group of judges for that day.
Yeah.
But a lot of people really take it such to heart that it's a downer rather than an upper. And I feel like we could work on that. That's all.
Okay, I'm going to be a little sarcastic here. Any one of you can respond to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I feel like for the last decade, whether it's the retreat center, the conference, I hear people say, like Nancy King just did, I wish for the first, second, and third again. Do you deep down really believe that would be good for business? Meaning that
Okay.
I feel like people say it, but if they went and did it and their school went home with nothing, that in our society today, they wouldn't be able to deal with that. What's your thought?
Oh, not in the society of today. No. Even though I still like it, but I think no.
You know what? Yes, but I also think that it comes from us, right? And it comes from our expectations and our explanation of it. I don't know. I feel like, I'll be honest with you, I feel like I'm at the point where it doesn't make me nervous. It just, business-wise, it just doesn't. It's either you, yeah, I don't know. I think it would hurt the competition business for sure, because I don't think there'd be a lot of us who would buy into that. Sadly, I think it would take a few of us kind of spearheading it. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't know. I think it's time. I think it's time for someone to jump on that train, and maybe it'll be me. Yeah, well, I don't know. We're talking about that, and it's talking about, what, I don't know. What are we telling our kids when they're winning things that we probably wouldn't have given them? And the first, we just had this discussion. We wouldn't have awarded our kids some of the things that we've seen them get at competitions if we were judging. Do you know what I mean? And I know we're their worst critics, but
what a good point.
That's true.
You know what I mean? And I do think what I consider to be a high silver, which in my mind, a high silver is a B+. If I'm going on American grading system, it's 80, 6 to 89 or whatever, typically. And what I'm thinking about, whatever the scoring system is, 86 to 89, that's a B+. Why can't that be good? B+ in school would be great, right?
Yes.
And I don't think it's being used often enough. I think kids are being given 90s and above, and a 90s and A. It's just being underused, I think, often enough. And then it takes away from those who truly are the A kids, right? I don't know.
No, I agree with you. It all makes total and complete sense. And what's funny is just listening to it, it is how we not judge, but how we evaluate everyone there is a system to it. It's like even in the Olympics, it's gold, silver, bronze. They would never, ever consider a titanium above the bronze, right?
Right. Right.
But somehow in dance, we've maneuvered this change.
And
I'm
everyone,
not saying that it doesn't encourage. I'm just wondering if it's truthfulness, I guess. I wish I could have come up with a better word than that, but
Or if it's reality, is that a real,
right,
is that a reality? Because then we're sending kids to college auditions or, professional auditions. And in some ways, as owners, if we're selecting events that aren't truly evaluating on a high end, then our kids are being set up for failure at the end, right? In theory. Yeah, and there's so much value. I don't know. There's more value in my mind, me as a teacher. For me, there's more value when I'm seeing kids get judged the way I would see them, like a high silver, because then we have something. Then they're advocating for us. In other words, when we're saying no, we need to get our passe up, then it's been backed up by that. When we have kids who go in and score way above what we would have, then it makes it difficult for us to do our job and say, you know what I mean? I don't know. And I don't know the
Yes.
real answer. And I know that, competition is a business, and, we're also in business. So I don't know the answer, but I feel like there's a place to start that conversation. And I feel like there's schools like that would jump on that. And you know what I mean?
yes. Melissa, I agree with you, because I really feel if we had some kind of change that really, really scored dance as dance and really worked on all the sides of it, the performance size and everything, we would be like so different.
sorry, I'm hiding that. I'll bring it back up in a second. Keep talking, Nancy.
I'm sorry, Coma, I'm totally going to start to cry now, too. Yeah, seriously, you guys.
But I really believe that. I really believe that there right now, especially all of us that have been around for a while and that really work on technique as well as all the sides of performance, that we're looking for something that does do that.
Yeah.
It does look at all of that. And we need our students to think that way, that it's not just about winning. It's about the journey of getting there.
Journey, right. It's the journey for sure.
What develops the child, what really develops the dancer.
Okay, so speaking of journeys, this is going to cover you guys up a little, Melissa. And
It's okay. It's okay. And hi, Melody. With Scott.
Okay, so look at this, Scott.
Yep.
Your encouragement helped Drew Burgess on his journey. Okay?
I do. I remember. I remember when, Melissa, were you and I together that week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in charge of that, Petite and Master. And he actually came out of the room. He didn't want to do the number anymore because he was not, I'm just going to say he just came out of the room. The choreographer and him were not getting along. And he
and he needed a
I
timeout.
said, get back in there, you'll be fine. And yeah, I remember that. That's funny.
It is. It's those, you never know too. I mean, that's just one more fine example of what our words can mean to kids, whether, you know what I mean, good or bad, to be honest. But how cool is that all these years later,
He remembers.
Yeah.
Great.
I've had kids come up to me. We were talking before that actually New England, when I host, I have the soloists kind of sit in a circle, so they have to look at each other when they get awards. And back in the day too, before COVID, I didn't do it yet this year, but I usually have studios stand up and have them introduce themselves to each other or find a new person and find a new friend. Well, I had a girl come to me, older, like she's a teacher now, and say, come over to me, or she's actually was going to college at the point. And she said, Scott, this is Emily, we met at a competition. You made me go over and say hi to her, and we met at competition, and we became best friends. And then we were colleges and roommates together in college and dancing together. And it's you because of you. You brought us together as friends. I'm like, I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, that's so
See
great.
how nice that's so nice.
It is so nice. It is nice, and we forget the things that we can do to children simply with a smile, or or an encouragement, or a thumbs up when they're on stage or anything. Yeah, they forget. We forget.
And maybe we sometimes forget a little bit about our impact on the mind, body, and soul of the dancer, because we're worried about if they're good enough, because we want them to feel good about themselves. When in reality, like Nancy said, I'll call it the process. She called it the journey. It's that process of the caring and the supporting that will last.
Yeah.
Okay. And give people comments like we just saw. It's not, nobody wrote, hey, Scotty made my son do 8 pirouettes.
Right.
It was words of encouragement. That is like, that's it.
Totally it.
True.
So I'm going to hit this question because in my perusing dance teacher pages, I see a lot about this lately. What's a good critique?
I think for me, it's going to be something constructive. It's going to be something that we can actually work with the kids on. So let's say, for example, your lines weren't tight, and that gives us a different view of it from the audience, or something that's directed at technique is constructive to me. Something that we can do something about, I guess it would be. And for me, none of it's offensive to me. For me personally, as a teacher, I actually would rather truth than sugarcoating, I guess. Does that make sense?
Right. I think it's about us being trained as kids, how we grew up, or even how we teach our own children, our own students about technique. And then you want that critique to come back to say, you didn't put your toe to your passe, you didn't make sure you don't sickle your feet, make sure your legs are turned out, or you're stepping into the pirouette correctly. All of those things are important. And as a group, I agree about the lines being straighter. Maybe your arms are all different. You need to make your arms in unison, or when you change lines, like some people when they choreograph don't ever change lines, and sometimes a teacher needs to hear that. Oh, you didn't change lines enough and move your students around enough. Especially a young teacher first starting out, they wouldn't sometimes even think about that. They just keep them in the same lines, and choreography is much more interesting when it moves.
Yeah.
And
I think what's in my mind from some of the commentary I see, Rhee, that like you, I see, it's not in the end necessarily what it's being said, it's how it's being presented by some adjudicators. Instead of saying something like, you might want to consider, a little more movement on the stage. You might want to, I noticed you haven't used stage right at all. You might want to consider having them, or maybe you want to consider creating some more levels, as opposed to this choreography doesn't work, right? So I think that sometimes that gets clouded. I think that it's, there's a way to present it and there's a way not to present it, I guess. But I think as teachers, we have to be, that's the whole reason we're bringing our kids there, is for them to improve, in my mind. And we have to be open that there should be suggestions about how we can improve choreography. It's not that's the thing. It's not personal. It's there to help you. It doesn't mean you're not a good choreographer. And I think sometimes we get clouded by that. Do you know what I mean? It just,
yeah.
And it's an opinion. It is an opinion, but you'd like to think it's an opinion of someone who understands that. Do you know what I mean?
Or has worked with students young students and to move them on stage. Some people that are judging have never worked with a young group of kids to move them on stage,
Right.
which is challenging, very challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Erin just wrote, she'd love to see different ages and experiences on a panel. I'm thinking you're thinking on a panel. And I don't disagree with that. I think that, we as older, more experienced people bring a different experience than someone who's, just starting out and has different experiences. I agree with you, Erin. Yeah.
I'm in the same category, Melissa, but how did we become the older
I
people?
know. I was the young one for a long time.
We were so young. For those of you who don't know that, we were young and cool. Now we're middle-aged and cool.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and
Go ahead, Scott.
and I've heard people and I don't agree with this either, but when judges aren't saying anything, but you have to remember too that the judges are also sitting there for 12 hours not moving. So yes, sometimes there is a silence on the thing. I have been one of those people. I've been absorbed in the dance and just forgotten to say anything, and I try to quick get stuff in at the end. And I don't agree with it. I'm just saying that it does happen and you have to forgive them. But if it happens the entire competition, then you need to let the competition directors know. You also need to know, too, that I try to prompt any of the judges that are working as I'm hosting, too, to say, keep saying the same thing. If it's going to be the same thing wrong, if the studio is going to sickle their feet, they're going to sickle their feet most of the time. Keep saying it, because you have no idea if the teachers are actually listening to all of those critiques or they're just listening to one critique.
Yeah.
I have a commentary on that, and probably Melissa, you feel the same way, Nancy. We used to, and now we are the old people because of what I'm about to say. We used to get in the car and listen to the tapes.
Oh yeah.
The day of,
Oh, yes.
that night. And listen, we could take, if the guy said, hey, this choreography seems to be too upstage, you need to pull it forward. We did not get upset.
No.
We went back and, wait, first hear this. We played that in front of our kids.
Oh yeah.
Because you're confident enough, right? Like, and they're going to learn, and you're going to learn through that process. Yep. So I used to say critiques were the most important, part of the dance competition.
Yes. Yes.
So I do hope that that's something that gets better.
Yes.
But for anybody who's out there who's a judge, know that most people would like an honest opinion.
Yeah.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. And state it, knowing that the kids are going to listen to it, state it in a way that won't be embarrassing.
Right.
But certainly, when I think about
directed to the children.
Yeah, I wasn't kidding. When I think about it, when we first started competition, and we were I lovingly say we were the bronze school, and back then the bronze, there was only one thing below a bronze, and that was an honorable mention, and that's fine. But I feel like back then, if we didn't take those comments and really listen and not get offended by some of the things that were being said, we weren't getting any better. You know what I mean? And in that day that we got our first gold, I'll never forget it. It was one group, it was one gold medal, and it was and it made our day. And but I think it came from the teachers and I really taking to heart what was being, what we were being told in a good way. Because we grew from that. And I think, I know it's just an opinion, and artistically we can disagree with people, but a pirouette is done a certain way, and a pirouette is a pirouette is a pirouette. A stretch foot is a stretch foot is, you know what I mean? So, and it validates it for us as teachers if our kids are being told that. If we've just spent 5 hours saying, the little ones, especially when you skip, your foot has to come all the way up to your knee and be pointed, and a judge, backs us on that, then it just makes our job easier. So I think I want honest feedback for sure. And I think all of us do. I just think that the tone in which some people say it needs to be adjusted.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I have a little bit of a philosophy about this. I hope it's not offensive, but I've been thinking about it for a while. I think back in the day, with less competitions, there were less judges. The quality of the pool was better. You could find people who had that experience, who could judge, who could give that critique. Now there are so many judges needed for so many dance competitions that the quality or the background isn't as strong as it was at one time. Was that controversial, or was that?
No, I think it's true, and it's very hard to find a well-rounded judge that knows tap and ballet and jazz and modern and a contemporary and needs to know all the styles and can do that. You can't just have a ballet judge that has no idea how to do tap. Yes, you know how to dance as a ballet judge, but you need to know rhythms and steps and formations and things like that. And a tap judge too needs to know other styles as well. So it needs to be a well-rounded judge.
And that's probably the most difficult part, is finding people who fit that niche. And I think the other thing that's happened too is there may be more out there that fill that, studio owners that might be great judges and get all the nuances of all different styles. Yet with competitions starting Thursday nights, for example, we can't, people can't always be there either. You know what I mean? Like, or not everyone can take Friday night off from their studio. So remember back in the day, it was only Saturday, Sunday. You know what I mean? So you'd have a bigger pool that you could draw from, because those people didn't have to be in their studios that day. Or, I don't know. I've never thought about it that way, but I was just thinking about that. Not everyone can leave their studios on a Thursday night or a Wednesday. So it does make that pool smaller for sure.
You just made me. Oh, go ahead.
No. And boy, when you find those gems, then you hold on to them forever,
Yes, you want to keep them.
Yes. Now we've got to train younger gems for sure.
Yes.
Because those gems are going to age out.
Something else too is the teachers of 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they did teach, or many did teach, more than one style of dance.
Yes.
This next generation, they're a contemporary teacher, they're a ballet teacher, they're a tap teacher. The overlapping of knowledge isn't as much as it was back then, because you could. Go ahead, Nancy.
No, I'm just saying that's true. That's very true. Because now even hiring teachers, there's teachers that don't want to teach the other style, even though many of them might know it. They don't want to teach that style. They now have said, this is the only style I'm working on. So then you have to get all these different teachers, where before you had many teachers that knew all the styles because they grew up that way, learning all the styles.
Yes. Okay, as we begin to wind this down, I'm going to ask you this question. What was one of the best moments you ever experienced at a dance competition, personally, for you yourself, either as a teacher or a student that succeeded, something like that? I can, if you ask me that question, I'd say 1982, Mr. Dance of America, one of the best competition experiences, wins. That's what I'm asking you about. Who wants to go first?
I'll say.
Go.
I mean, I have many, especially because my children are all involved in this. So it was the year that Brendan won Mr. Dance of America and Christopher won Master Dance of America.
Really?
Yeah. I remember that. I remember because I think I was doing Master Dance. Yeah. Were you with me, Scott? Yeah. No, I remember that year because I had a student with Christopher.
Yes. And our daughter's done many things, but it was that year, and all our children were there. Like everyone was there to support each other. So it was, and all the kids in the studio were there. It was just like a special time for them.
Very cool. We cherish these memories. That's why I'm asking you, because there's so much good.
Can I tell you one other?
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Other was the first time I beat Fred Connect.
Oh, I wish he was here to hear that.
One time he said to me that he said, "One day you're going to beat me." And I said, I look up to you so much. It'll be, don't ever say I will never look at you again, because I still look up to him so much. But the day that our group won over his group was like, really, it was an epitome of working so hard. And he came up to me and he said, "You did it. I told you you would do it."
Oh, that's so
Oh,
awesome.
that's awesome.
He picked me up and hugged me. And that was so special to me, because he was like a mentor, because he was always telling me that I do too much of this and I need to just work like I'm working. Don't stop what you're doing. Just do what you're doing. He was very encouraging.
That's awesome.
He's a good man, and he's still encouraging.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Melissa, what would you like to share?
You know what? It's funny. I really don't have I've had a lot of great experiences at competition. And I don't think I have great long-term memory, is the truth. But anyways, I think, those moments that I see some of the kids just having personal wins. And I'm not talking about scoring. I'm talking about getting through their number cleanly because they just never did. I feel like when I see our kids being good humans, creating that circle this weekend, like Scotty mentioned, is all part of that journey for me. But I also, because you said Fred Connect, I will always in a day remember I had a point dancer that he always, to this day, will say, "What's your point dancer doing?" I'm like, "Well, she's 45 or 50. I don't know what she's doing." But coming from someone like him saying, "You just always have such beautiful, your ballet training is just so nice." And going to his studio to teach for him at one point was truly a highlight. I think that those are some of the best memories. And I have all right, I'm going to tell you I just came up with it. Last weekend, I was hosting our DMA chapter for performing arts, and 3 different teachers came up to me, and I don't even know I'm doing this, so this is not something I do consciously. And they said, "We don't know how you do it. You smile at every dancer on the stage." And parents will say that to me. They're like, "You're dancing with all the kids, and you smile at the stage." It's not a conscious thing. Right. But someone said that must mean that this just makes you so happy. And I don't consciously think that. It doesn't make me unhappy, but it must really do something for me emotionally, because I do smile at every single kid up there dancing, and good, bad, and different. So I guess that would have to be a really big highlight, because that's not really about dance. That's about something way different. And I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's because you're a special person.
Oh.
And you know what? And she really
I'm not blowing steam, my friend.
I've hosted competitions with Melissa sitting right next to me, and she really does smile at every child. Gotta get home and be exhausted, but she does smile.
She does, because I always.
He's doing it so you don't have to at that moment, Scott.
No, I smile and I nod and I'm encouraging. I've had kids perform just for me because I'm down front at the sound table and they forget the judges. They stand right in front of me because I'm like, "Okay, we got it." Yeah.
Yep.
So, Scotty, before I come to you, Nancy, did you see this from Donna Lynch?
Oh, yes, I did.
Mr. Fred was my teacher and is the best. My brother was always chasing after Brendan and was so inspired by him.
Oh, that's nice.
See, we're all connected.
We are.
Really are.
Yes,
really are. We
Okay,
barely are.
Scotty, tell me a special moment. Hosting, judging, dancing.
I went to a special. I went all about me actually. I remember when I won my very first choreography award.
Oh, nice.
I was thrilled, so excited, like
Yes.
really. And you know what? It was one. I was just so. It was so nice to be recognized by people for something that you like to do. I remember I got to the car and I cried. I was so excited. I did.
That's
And yeah, it was nice. It was just something, it was all this work you put in. Sometimes, you don't always get the thank yous. I mean, yeah, you do, once in a while. I mean, sometimes my kids leave and don't even say goodbye. They're like, all right. It's like one of my rules now. I'm like, you need to come and say goodbye to me when you leave. Because they'll just, competition will be over. They all like, leave the stage. I'm like, okay. Nobody wants to come hug me or take a picture. You have all these other students doing stuff. So yeah, they know they're much more loving now. But yeah, it was kind of for a little while. It was funny. Oh, congratulations, Megan.
Yes.
So wait, I want to ask you, Scotty, because I'm sure you'll be able to answer this. At least I hope so. What was that piece of choreography?
It was a musical theater piece, and it was different. It wasn't your typical dance number. It was the microphone with the microphone. Remember, Melissa? Yeah, somebody
Yes.
brought it up the other day. I'm like, I can't believe you remember that number. They're like, yeah, that was really good. I'm like, oh my god, thanks. Yeah, it was like a big band kind of number, and I had a kid stand in the front and with a microphone to lip sync it with a whole bunch of kids. It was just it was different. And I know as a host that sat through thousands and thousands of numbers, it's not always about the most beautiful lyric number. It's about something that's a little off kilter that is going to make the judges tilt their head and go, oh, wow, that was fun, or that was different, or it doesn't always need to be the best. It just needs to be, just go for it, people. Use your creativity and just get out there and be whacked. And when the kids look at you and go, are you real? Are you serious? You need to go, yes, we're going to do this, because the judges are going to need it. And I can guarantee you that they do.
So
even
true.
if it's 8:00 in the morning, it's the first number on stage, it's a fresh look. Or if it's the last number of the day, it is a fresh look. But people, be creative and go out there and go on a limb.
And I want to add to that, Scotty, because I think this year more than ever, also just go out there and appreciate that your kids are on a stage, that we're coming back to what we knew before. I didn't call it coming back to normal because I don't think it's going to be the same. But our kids getting the chance to dance on stage, us only dreaming of that a year ago. Let it be that as we head into the rest of the competition season, we're less irked by a critique. We're less irked by the results. Just because in our soul we are so grateful that our kids are dancing and that we're watching them dance. That's something that I wanted to say live for the last 2 weeks. Watching people make these comments about competition, it's like, look at this, kids on the stage, they're dancing, they're in a costume. That is remarkable in itself. Yes?
True. Yes.
And it's helping them learn to deal with a lot since being enclosed for so long. They were enclosed almost 1.5 to 2 years. This is like a release to them. You could see it on their faces.
True.
When you took that mask off for the first day, didn't you see how, oh my gosh, it was like, I was crying, they were crying. We were just all so happy. It was great.
Yeah.
And that's what we should look at. We should really look at that.
I think that this whole last couple of years been tough for everybody, but it's shown us all a new appreciation for just the fact that we can teach children, have them in our studio, make good citizens through the process or the journey, as Nancy is talking about. Competition is a part of what we do. It's not all we do. And let us, even at competition, recognize the journey part of this.
Yep.
Right. It's
For
only
sure.
one process, one stepping stone to really developing a dancer.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
If we keep that in mind, I think that means a lot because it's only a part of of them developing, not everything.
Most definitely.
Okay. I'm going to say that this was one of the best coffee talks so far, in my opinion. And I want to have you guys back again. And thank you for sharing, laughing,
Thank you.
and reminiscing. I said it earlier, but it's a connection. I feel a connection to each one of you, and that wouldn't have happened had it not been for competitions and conventions. And so there is so much positive. Let us just mentally handle it all positive for ourselves and for our dancers and their families.
Right.
Yes.
And I met you guys as adults, but I'm good friends with a lot of people like that own studios that I competed against. Stacy Eastman, one of them. She's one of my best friends, and we talk all the time and share costumes and share rhinestones and do all this stuff and do stuff together. I help her at her recital. She's been to mine. And it's just because we grew up in this. And that's what it's about. It's the friendships you're going to make. And you have no idea if those people in the red jacket sitting across from you are going to be the people that are auditioning your kids someday in the future. So be nice to them. It goes farther just to be nice to each other.
Yes, it does. It means a lot to everyone. Once you break that ice, sometimes it's just a good feeling. And sometimes the teacher just needs someone to give them a hug too, because everyone feels pressured when you're at that competition.
Yep.
And
right. I'm the idiot at the competition that brings the giant green giant orange bag, and the teachers all know I have it. And it's got glue gun, it's got hot gloves, it's rhinestone, it's got headpieces, it's got tights. And teachers come to me and they laugh at me about it, but they're the first ones to come to me like, I need a scissor, Scott. I need a thread. I'm like, okay, we got it right here. And I have bobby pins here. I'm bobbying. I'm doing kids' hair. I'm telling, oh, your tag's sticking out for other studios. I'm backstage helping them because they're kids and they deserve to do the best they can.
Do you know what I kind of love about, don't all yell at me because I'm suffering the same thing, but I kind of love about this costume thing that's going on is I'm watching different teachers helping different teachers out to get, I'm waiting on, I have, a neighboring studio that's gathering 6 costumes for me for this weekend because they used it. And it's been kind of cool. It opens some conversations between studio owners who may not have talked before. Trust me, I don't want to get another email that says my costume's not going to make it. But I think that that's opened some dialogue that wouldn't have existed otherwise. And it's kind of cool,
We are all in the same boat. We didn't know that before COVID. Now everybody is aware. We're different.
Right.
But we're all floating in the same boat together, and we need each other.
True.
Yeah.
very much so.
Yes.
Love you guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.